Hey everyone, get ready for another awesome episode of the Vibe and Sesh podcast, your portal to the latest and greatest in the world of cannabis. Today, we're diving into the artistic realm with the true legend, Snic.
Snic hails from the vibrant city of Philadelphia and is a man of many talents in the world of glass. From his early days selling glass pipes on the road to his innovative work with electroplating, Snic's journey has been nothing short of extraordinary.
So whether you're rolling one up or torching up your favorite piece, get ready for a journey where art, activism, and cannabis collide. This is the Vibe and Sesh podcast, where every episode sparks a new adventure. Now let's kick it off with Snic Barnes.
Snic, welcome. I'm CJ. This is John.
What's up?
Welcome to our Vibe and Sesh podcast. Thank you for joining us today.
How's it going? Thank you.
Good, man. Happy Friday. So we're really excited to get started and get into it a little bit more with you here. So our first question is, when did you first get in touch or interact with cannabis? Even before pipes, when was your first experience with cannabis?
I think when I was around 12, something like that. I was 12, and we were listening to the first Cypress Hill album, and I smoked a blunt that we didn't roll, but we stuffed with swag weed.
Incredible. Do you feel like you got high on the first time, or was it?
Yeah, it was very. I didn't like getting high for the first couple of times. I got super high, like psychedelic high, where I had to lay down for a long time and felt like I was having an out of body experience. But I was like, what the hell is everybody talking about? Why is everybody so hype on weed? So I just kept smoking. I was like, oh, okay.
This is it.
Eventually it sunk in.
Yeah.
So you started smoking at 12. I know you first started glass blowing around 17. So what brought you to glass blowing, and what kind of closed that gap between you starting smoking and then you kind of getting on the torch a little bit?
Well, I was a bad child, obviously. I was getting high around 12, so that wasn't really the start of anything that was, normal in some ways, I guess. So I had a hard time in public schools and stuff like that, and eventually ended up at an alternative high school in my area, which at the time when I was there, there's another glassblower, John Katsouris, who I was friends with, who went to the school, who was getting glass pipes and starting to get interested in blowing glass. And he was eventually started blowing glass, and he was the first person that I saw blow glass and kind of introduced me to all of that. So,
and what was that school?
How it started from that.
What was that school?
That was called the Krefeld School. Still there. They have a glass program. When I was there, that was basically started off on little hothead torches, kind of like, dab torches and melting soft glass.
Yeah.
And ended up building a whole hot shop by the time I left there, and that is still going on today.
So that's sick. Did you take any part in like pushing for that expansion?
Yeah, that was basically, I went to school with Luca from Philadelphia as well. We started blowing glass together.
Oh, wow.
And we were there, and we pushed our art teacher, Aaron, to like, how could we do this? And basically, for very inexpensive, the cheapest way you could melt glass, we figured out. And that was, we were sophomores or something like that. So like over the next couple of years, we helped build like a whole hot shop. And that was kind of our, half of the day we'd go in and just do our regular classes. Then the other half we would spend in the art room building stuff and messing around and all that shit.
And what were you guys making on the torch? Was it pipes back then, or was it, what was your earliest stuff that you were kind of tinkering with?
The very first stuff, because it was soft glass, we were just pushing mushrooms and making flowers and bending glass rods, and then eventually got a little national torch when I was still in high school, and was making fumed pipes and sticking them in vermiculite If that was
Yeah.
probably for almost like a year and a half, 2 years, like just no kiln, hoping that the piece would survive. And yeah, that was the beginning of it.
You still have anything from back
That's
then?
sick.
I have the first. I don't have any of the pipes, but I have the first cup that we made in the hot shop there. So yeah, that was that. I still have that, but I don't really have any glass from any of that era. Yeah, I don't
So
think so.
when did you think that you started to first find your style? We know that we can look at a Snic piece nowadays and really hone in, right away we know that's Snic. When did you first start to find your groove and the, I guess, psychedelic nature in the pieces that you're putting out?
I like the style. I appreciate that. Thank you. I feel like it's ever evolving. Like I'm just starting to feel like I'm understanding how I want to execute my work and put it out. So kind of a long process, but uh, I feel like I've just trying to acquire influences and skill and technique to kind of be able to articulate that in my work. So yeah, I think it's a long-winded answer. Just I don't know. I guess I had just been trying to figure that out the whole time and get to a point where I could have the skills and have the vision to kind of put it together. So the work that I'm making and all that is always like I have these things in my mind that I'm stepping towards constantly, I guess. So, um, but yeah, it's kind of ever evolving, and I've like again, yeah, I've just been trying to express that. So it's kind of forever, I guess, but it's only coming to fruition in the last little bit.
Where'd the hand
Yeah.
come from? The hand with the eye? Is that some like Egyptian inspiration kind of?
That's just kind of a lot of different cultures have that mystical hand with the eye, or just kind of you know, the way I look at it is I leave a lot of that open to interpretation to other people as to what they draw
Yeah.
from it. Um, but it's more of just a influence of the eye in the hand is kind of the representing looking at beauty through your hands and making things and using that as vision, I guess, using my hands to create that in
So
a
you
way.
talk a
Yeah,
lot
that's
about
very appropriate for you. This is not a pipe maker collab, Cole, and you
Yeah.
crushed it.
he absolutely crushed it.
Thanks. Yeah, Cole's Cole's
Ripping.
amazing.
Yeah, they're awesome.
You talk a lot about influences here, Snick. What are your influences? And what influence, your journey, I guess, in the glass world here?
I love creative things like art and music and movies. Um, yeah, there's just I draw a lot also from the environment, and so I also the psychedelic aspect is because of the culture and just because I dropped I ate mushrooms and LSD I think when I was like 13, so
Incredible.
You were a bad kid, man.
yeah. So yeah, it's just been a part of my life, and I I just really love um, you know artists and things that people create and the way that it makes you feel. So
Yeah.
I kind of I've I just chase a lot of those things and constantly look for inspiration um, in a lot of different things. But a lot of inspiration does come uh, from other artists, from music, and from film.
And who are
You
some of
know,
those artists that really inspire you?
um, well, for my work was like Michael Glancy. That was just the actual kind of technique to apply metal to glass stuff. But randomly, like I love uh, David Lynch and Sonic Youth and um, Duchamp and yeah, it's hard off the top of my head just to list like a bunch of the artists, but
No, sure.
generally I like kind of darker, off things that
Yeah.
a lot of people generally don't like. But
I like those
yeah,
wall pieces at Parlay.
I was
Those are
just
pretty
thinking
cool
that.
to put together. I was like, a
oh,
lot of people
thank
were
you, thank you.
interpreting
Yeah,
those
that's
differently.
another thing I've always wanted to kind of. I've dabbled in that through the years a little bit, but
Yeah.
getting to a point so again where I could articulate things and have the ability to execute them is just happening more and more now, I guess.
I think that was
In a
really
way.
cool at Parlay too. Like, you know, you have the freedom to kind of put out whatever you want. They give you a blank canvas as an artist. Shout out to Kinda, he does a great job with Parlay
Yeah.
and putting all that stuff together.
Yeah,
But the
yeah, that's all.
no, you're good. The fact that you know, came out there
Right.
and you put together like not just one but multiple wall pieces. You know,
Yeah.
you could have just put out a pipe, and I believe you did have some pipes in Parlay and work. I saw you at the one of the other events, the Crushmore event. I believe you were there with a booth and some of your other work. But the fact that at that one show, I believe it was Cole's show,
Yeah.
you had two wall pieces, and they just really spoke to everyone. I think that saw them. You know, they really stuck out, especially to John and I. We were talking about them after the Parlay. Both of us were like, "Whoa, those were something special." You know.
Yeah. Yeah. They were perfectly placed too. Right when you walk in the
Oh.
door, it's the first thing you see.
I appreciate that. Yeah, for me, parlay is really awesome because it allows me. The audience is coming. I
Right.
can. I have the ability to kind of do whatever I want. The ability for me to try to do that somewhere else is like finding a gallery, finding
Yeah.
the right space. It might not even be in town. And so this is just the easiest way for me to be able to put work in front of people's faces and have them look at it. And uh, I just like making stuff and I sometimes I say I'm like a failed artist that's a pipe maker because it's pipe making is it's blessed to have such a like robust market that you can make stuff and sell it, as where in the art world it's really hard to survive as an actual
out as an
artist.
artist. Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely get boxed in. a
I
little
think
bit more
going
in
back
other
to-
mediums.
Going back to some of your Philly time, so some of the early days in Philly, I know you opened one of the first pipe studios in the city. Can you tell us a little bit more about that with early gallery shows at Front Street and East Street Gallery and some of the early times that you had in Philly?
Yeah, that there was, yeah, the early times. Well, I had a studio in one of my first real studios was with Luca from Philadelphia, and we ended up getting shut down for we had like a smoke alarm go off. Fire department came in and didn't like what we were doing there and shut us down.
What year was this?
And that was 2001, August 2001. And the next month, 9/11 happened, and I was already very just freaked out about
Everything.
conspiracy
really.
stuff and all that shit. And I moved up to Vermont for a few years and blew glass up there. And then when I came back in 2004, I went and worked with Nate, Jag, and Jop at what was Philly Glassworks. And that was 2004. And that kind of, because also between that time after 9/11, there was Operation Pipe Dreams.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up. Or right around Operation Pipe Dreams, when you're coming back down to Philly, that's right after it. So what were you feeling around that time? Were you kind of nervous? I mean, 9/11 shook you a little bit. You moved up to Vermont. Like, were you kind of still on edge around that time, or are you feeling more comfortable going down to Philly?
I was still young. I was like 24 or something like that. And I just was like, all right, I lived in the woods. I want to be in the city and I don't really care. And whatever, if it, blows up, then, cool. So yeah, it came down and the Philly Glassworks was going on. And that was a place to set up and work. And it was still at that point it wasn't really, they didn't really want pipes being made there. So that was when Jag was really making a lot of sculpture, non-pipe stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, he's done some really cool stuff. The stuff that they just didn't even know was a pipe that he kind of tucked in.
Yeah.
And that
And
work
so
is
that kind
incredible.
of started pushing for, we were doing that for a couple of years. And then Slinger ended up moving to town. And that kind of started at that point. Also, things started changing a little bit. Like there, it was a few years after Pipe Dreams. You know, it was things were starting to, you know, I wouldn't say pick back up, but there was just more glass
Normalized,
being,
maybe. So around this
Yeah.
time was when you started electroforming, or when did you start experimenting with that?
That was 2000 and like 10, I think.
So that's a couple years later then. So what were you making? What were you making when you were back in Philly? We won't get to electroforming yet. What were you making from like the 2007, 2000?
I was making, let's see, like at a point I was making like double bubblers. Like I would make
Real heady ones.
yeah,
You've
like
seen
yeah,
some
to
of
make
those old ones.
some double bubblers, and I mean, man, it was really touch and go. I mean, I would basically had one place. There was this shop up in New Hampshire, Good Times, that basically would buy almost like all of my stuff because there was no other. There wasn't a lot of stores at the time, and a lot of people
Sure.
moving work. So I had to. I would do a day drive all the way up one day and back down like 14 hours just to go have a meeting, sell my glass, come back down.
It's the
So
hustle.
I was making,
It's the grind.
yeah, I was making like a bunch of, I was making some headies. I was also like clear double bubbler stuff with like worked insides and yeah, just nothing. Yeah, it wasn't really like, you know, nothing too absolute crazy, but occasionally. And let's see, and then yeah, when Slinger moved here, right? Yeah, right when Slinger moved here, I moved to Montana for a year, and I was in Montana for a year.
What pushed you out there? Slinger came to town. Time to leave.
Yeah.
Yep, Sling's here. We're out.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
no, it was I was also at the same time doing wilderness survival skills,
Cool.
like tracking and fire making, bow building,
That's sick.
Yeah,
shelter
it's sick.
building. Basically the primitive survival school.
So have you
apocalypse training.
gone out like in alone, just like lived out in the woods for a week or two to test your strength?
Not,
See what I can
not,
do, baby.
Yeah.
not to that level, but I've done little outings and stuff. Yes,
That's cool.
but,
2 days. He sticks it to 2
yeah,
days.
one of my buddies that I did programs with was on alone.
Really?
Whatever.
Oh, shit.
Wow, that's sick. Good for him. How'd he do?
He made it like halfway, I think, like that.
That's sick.
You
That's
know?
impressive. Yeah. I'd probably only make it like a couple days. Start to freak
Yeah, dude,
myself out.
that shit's intense.
It's like a mental game too. It's like, yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, I came back from Montana because things were kind of picking up here,
Sweet.
and Sling and I started sharing a studio, and
Nice.
he was started doing the blasting, and I was basically like, yo, let's just, you know, I was like, I can make, you know, the pipes, you know, when you do the blasting, and that was like kind of the beginning of our like kind of collaborative stuff where we just
Efforts.
did.
Yeah, really cool.
Yeah, I would make bubblers and stuff like that, and he'd blast them up, and then
Sick.
I had friends in town that were doing jewelry, electroform jewelry,
Yeah.
and so I had gone to craft school in Tennessee, and that's where I learned about Michael Glancy, and I remembered that work always. It always stuck with me, and when I saw my friends doing this, I just kind of strong armed my way into their situation of
You guys will
Like,
teach
yo.
me.
It's mad
was like,
scientist work. Do you want to explain a little bit of what it looks like the whole vat and everything else at all?
yeah,
Trade
so,
secrets or trade secrets, you know.
No,
don't
it's,
don't
you
show
know,
a
it's-
special spice,
you,
but
you, you can look it up on YouTube. There's some interesting videos of people doing it, but
yeah.
Yeah, it's why I never really did it, because it was always uh, I'm not a very technical person.
Yeah.
I'm not. I feel my way through things a lot rather than reading a manual and shit
You're
like that.
dancing with the
But
glass.
so the electroforming process is like you're dealing with a solution, chemical solution that has kind of is acidic and is basically, which I didn't know at the time, but it's somewhere around like bleach if you have to categorize the level of like
Sure,
corrosiveness.
sure.
Yeah.
So it's not like melt your face off, but it will mess you up.
You could
Uh,
electrocute yourself though during the process by accident, right? Or is that not the
no, because,
case?
no, because you're using a direct current, so
Uh,
it's not like there's alternating current and direct current, and the direct current allows a full stream of electricity,
That'd be wild.
which doesn't yeah it doesn't shock. But it's not, we don't use it because it's not very powerful. Like you can't send like large large uh, amps or voltages of electricity through the direct current, so that's why we really don't use it. um, but this process, it doesn't you're not going to get electrocuted from it. So but you
That'd be
can get a
aggressive,
chemical
man.
burn.
You're just like
it's a
making a
little more
piece and
lax than I thought it might be then. At the
Yeah, no,
time,
that
at the time when you started doing that, was there anyone else like electroforming on pipes at that time? Because I have seen it from a few other artists since then.
Yeah, the first person that I know of doing it on a pipe is Dizzle.
oh,
So
nice.
Nice.
I would say that that was the first time that I saw a pipe maker do it. And when I was doing it, I think that it was Brandon Martin and Ghost that were also doing like electroforming at the
Did
time.
Dizzle inspire you at all when you saw that on his pipe, or was that just like, ah, nice, cool, I saw someone else doing it too?
I was just like, dang, that's like, it's still, I didn't know really, have, I didn't look too deeply into it. Honestly, that was like also me, but I was like, that's really cool. That's something that I've always wanted to do. I was definitely a little jealous. I was like, that's fucking really cool.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's cool to see you bringing it back too. And then coming full circle, I didn't realize that you had gone to school with Luca, but that recent Illadelph collab then is kind of like, bringing it all the way around. If you want to comment on that
yeah.
at
Yeah,
all.
Heady Clocks.
I don't know if you
Heady Clocks
officially put your
printing.
name on it or not, but I thought that was an
I
awesome
know
collaborative
he
effort.
tagged me. I mean, I've known Luca since we were in kindergarten, so, and
Yeah.
I don't think it's any secret that Luca loves trolling.
Yeah.
So he's just, he likes it. So, and I know on certain level, like I didn't.
Has
There
he
was no
called
ill
you up
will.
on it yet? You guys spoke about it at
No,
all?
no,
Give
Nah.
we haven't spoken.
John,
We
give
haven't
a little
spoken in a long
background on what exactly the pipe is for those of the people that might not be hip to.
Yeah,
So
Heady
what he
Clocks
did.
Heady Clocks started by shopping around Philadelphia looking for the only head shop that didn't include vapes or kratom or any of those other nonsense things. So he eventually landed on the Illadelph Gallery, got himself a
Incredible.
brand new pink label straight tube, mini straight tube,
I know you got a couple of those too.
and he sat on it for a little while, thinking what to do with it, and then I guess. Did you approach him with the idea, or was it like, kind of a meeting of the minds?
No, he approached me on it.
Yeah.
Please.
And and I said that, yeah, I was, because he was like, oh, could you do this? I was like, yeah, it'd probably be obvious that I did it. So I was like, I'm like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
And
It's
sure Luca
hilarious.
he got a chuckle out of it, So
We all did.
Definitely.
yeah, well, I mean, he's a good sport about stuff. It's like if you open that door of doing the Force collab,
It's Pandora's
only,
box, baby.
It's a revolving
so
door.
they took the Illadelph piece and gave it to Snic, and he worked his magic on there. And then that thing went in 2 seconds. As soon
Yeah.
as it went up for auction, it was dibs
That
in
was predicted.
1 second.
I mean, it's an absolute trophy. How could it
2K,
not?
1
Yeah.
second.
Yeah. That's a Philadelphia
I was
iconic
like,
trophy right
wow.
there.
yeah, Yeah,
That was
yeah,
epic.
Yeah.
yeah. That's
So
funny.
on
Yeah,
the same electroforming topic, I know another big piece of history here is the FYC. Fuck your crew, fuck your corporation. Tell us. I mean, we weren't collecting back then. John and I. Tell us what the scene was like. What was going through your guys' heads when you stepped into it for the first time? It was really cool that Soak did another run. 10 years later, this past couple months ago. So, but give us the background. Give us like what was it like for you guys going through it?
Paint the picture. Yeah.
at the time, I think that there was a lot of new ground kind of being charted and discovered as far as JP Toro, kind of really, he was the first. I would say probably like the first like heady pipe maker that switched over to working on the lathe to kind of make lathe work tubes that were really dope.
Now,
You
was
know,
he
and
in Philly? I know he's based in New York at the time. You and Sling are in Philly. Where is he making these? And how are you guys connected to JP at that time?
uh, both Sling and I knew him separately. Um, I met him a few times before he came up when I was living in Vermont. Had a studio with Jason Lee and Hops, and he came up a couple of times and hung out. Uh, and then eventually Hops moved down to JP's spot, and so like
Is
we
that in
all
New
kind of knew.
York or in Philly?
Yeah, in New York.
Okay, so
Before
JP's always been in New York, and you guys are kind of rotating around. You're in Vermont. You were down in Philly. How did you connect to know that he was making like the most baller tubes at that time?
the exact ways, I forget how that all actually kind of, well, actually no, we ended up going up because that was, yeah, right when, I don't know, because Hops moved down, I think, and they came down, JP and Wendy came down to hang out, and we were just uh I don't know, I think we were all just like bullshitting and hanging out, and we ended up being like, oh, we'd love to come up and make some work with you guys or something like that.
Sick.
And this was before I think I was even plating, and we went up there and hung out and made some work. And then I think I started plating and Sling was already blasting, and that kind of, we were just like, hey, why don't, if you guys are interested or whatever, let's make some more pieces. And they kind of wanted to start another little artist line that was associated with Toro, but it was like Toro's artist line, you know.
Now, at the time,
Uh,
is Toro doing bangers or is he just doing tubes?
you mean like the
Quartz.
the
Yeah, yeah. Is he just
Oh,
making
quartz.
quartz tubes
No,
or boro tubes, or is he doing quartz bangers as well back then? I guess there wasn't a banger because Quave came with the
no, there
bangers.
wasn't. No, there it was all.
At that
They
point,
were
there
all
wasn't
Boro
one, no.
tubes.
Yeah.
They were all tubes, but he's the first one to do the banger hanger, the 90-degree off of a piece,
Right.
because that there was something where Roar was had a trademark or was threatening to sue people for putting a glass on glass joint on a 45-degree angle on a glass tube. So to get around that, he was just like, "Fuck
Here's
it,
a
I'll just
90. Fuck it.
Who
Yeah.
was that? Who had the original like patent or what was it?
Roar." I think.
Yeah.
I think-
Wow.
Yeah,
It's
They're
interesting.
just like, yep.
What year was that in?
that's like 07
Yeah.
or something. Like, yeah,
That's what
somewhere
I was
around
thinking. There's no way. I definitely didn't see any before then.
Yeah, they're all flower. Like everything was all flower. We were in that transition of flower to fucking whatever metal
Yeah.
flippy thing. I forget the
The swing.
term. Swing
Yeah,
arm. Yeah,
Yeah.
swing arm. Yeah, and
Then the TI nails after that.
yeah, the banger wasn't out till,
Like,
yeah, bangers weren't until, like
2016.
2012 or something like
Yeah,
that.
no, I'm with you there.
Even 13.
2011 at least. Yeah.
So you guys want to put out another artist line, and then how does it turn into FYC?
That was JP's kind of thing. He was like, "Yo, I want to name it. FYC is influenced by some like graffiti uh, co-op out in like Europe or something like that."
Nice.
And yeah, I mean, we were slinging out. We're like, cool. Yeah.
So how long did
Yeah,
it take
fit in
you
with
guys?
your guys' flow.
Yeah.
Easy.
You're like, fuck it, I'll go up there.
Yeah, no, the whole FYC concept and everything that you
Send it.
guys have lived up to that point, I feel like it all fit together perfectly. It's like the Three Musketeers.
How long did it take you guys to put the whole body of work together for that? Was that like
For
a one shot or like a couple weeks, or did you have to go back and forth?
we went up there for a week and made work, and the rest of it was through mail,
Oh, nice.
basically.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you touched on Europe. I know you've done some time in Japan. Let's go to the other side of the world here now and touch a little bit on your time over in Japan. I know you've done some stuff with Yoshi. I know that you've also taught over there. So I'm gonna let you tell us a little bit more. What's been your experience over in Japan, and what have you really done over there?
Uh, yeah, Japan. I've been over there. I don't know, like 5 or 6 times or something like that. And I've, thanks Sling for that. I don't know if you got talked about any of that, but it was 2008, and he got invited to do a teaching gig,
Nice.
and we were sharing the studio, and I was like, dude, because he's like, should I go to Japan? I was like, yes, you're going to Japan, and I'm gonna go with you.
Yes. Sick.
Because I always been interested in Japan my whole life, and
Did you know the work over there? Like, did you know of Yoshi over in 2007?
no. We didn't know of. There was. It ended up happening because Sling taught a class at Revere, and
Okay.
there was a student there from Japan, Yamato, who 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 went back and told this guy Ishai, who had the studio over there, who was he invited Marcel and some other people there before, to get Slinger out there to do a class. And so Slinger knew Yamato, and that was like the only person that he knew. And so,
Did you have a translator or
Yeah.
anything, or did you guys just go?
oh, we just went. The guy Ishai who put it on was this Israeli dude living over there, so he spoke English. So
Sick.
he was kind of it. But it was right before, cell phone apps and all that shit, and
Yeah.
and so yeah, there was not really much of a translation thing, but there was this conference there that Ishai put on called the BAE, the Borosilicate Art Expo, and
It's a very famous one. It's huge.
he was putting that on and had us out, and at that we met our buddies. We met Daisuke,
Sick.
Disc,
Yep.
and we met Toyo, who is Slop, Disc and Slop,
Yep.
and our buddy Nobu, who does like the photography and all this stuff. And basically we met them at it was like the first day of the conference, and
What
they were
year are
just
we
like,
in right now?
this
2007
is
still?
2008. 2008 is when yeah. And the Slinger had on something where his name was like I Puff a Lot, something like that. That was like his moniker on some forum or something. They like come over and they're like, you want to you puff a lot? And they're
Yeah.
like giving us this like look, and we're like, yeah. And so they ended up taking us around in a car. They had weed, and we were just like started smoking with them, and we just instantly like clicked and bonded with those dudes super hard. And yeah, it was actually Toyo and Nobu were really the ones they were coming over and hanging out with us because they were documenting a lot of things.
Awesome.
So they were kind of coming over first before anyone else. But yeah, we met Yoshi at that same conference. And Yoshi was working construction, making soft glass beads, and like about to quit blowing glass, basically.
Wow.
Yeah,
And
That's nuts.
yeah, we both Slinger and I both were like, "Yo, you need to make your stuff out of borosilicate. Like, you need to, make boro marbles, not soft glass beads and stuff."
Was that because you guys saw that there was more of a market for it, or with the work that he was
Yeah.
doing, his technique would come out better with
maybe they saw this
Boro?
potential.
So all of it, yeah. Just
All of
he'd
it.
have there'd be more interest in people wanting boro work marbles than soft glass beads, But
Because if you look at his work too, like over the course of time, actually, I have a Yoshi Pendy on by chance.
Shout out Yoshi.
But like the depth of the dots and
Oh,
like what he's
we get
able to
through this.
accomplish with the colors is like incredibly impressive. Some of the earlier work, and I've seen some of the soft glass beads too. It's more like flat surface work than like what he's grown into, but potentially just like a evolution of his style. Who knows?
So back then, did you guys? I know that he told me that it was some guys from America that helped really broaden his market.
Yeah.
Were you guys some of the guys that brought some of his work back to the States early on?
Yeah. I mean, I think that we weren't like flipping his work, but
Sure.
I think that just we probably helped get the exposure of that whole thing going on, because yeah, we went back, we went 2008, and then the next year we went back with like 12 artists from, like, we went back, it was like Sling, myself, Jag, Dosher, Salt, Dizzle, Ease, D-Rec, Jeezy.
Everyone was fucking like, let's send it.
That's sick. Was
Yeah,
that
what
for
a
the
squad.
conference then again?
Yeah, that
next
was
year?
that was for the conference, and we came like monsters and
Had a
just
blast. Yeah.
had
That's
a
sick.
blast and really just were just made such good connections with everybody and really started kind of started that thing opening up. I feel like. So.
Did you guys
Yeah.
put any work in the conference that year?
Yeah, it was more like it was more like a crafty show than a conference. You might be thinking of there's the one, the BAE was more of all of the outsiders and misfits of the Japanese glass scene. There was a more
Incredible.
academic, there was a very like clear line of academic and everyone else.
Sure.
And,
Yeah.
and in their society, it's a very like respectful, your chain of command, your elders, all of that. So the scene that the pipe makers and the Japanese hippies and all that, it's a very
It's
it
a
was-
divided community.
And you guys, like, you weren't openly over there like, yeah, we're glass blowers, we're pipe makers specifically, were you? Or were you just like, we're glass artisans?
yeah,
Or
they knew. That was like
Yeah.
Slinger and I taught a class and we made like a big old double bubbler or something.
right over
You're
there?
just like, what
That's
the heck?
sick.
So did you teach any of those guys? Disc, Slop, Toyo, Yoshi?
Takao was in one of our classes, I believe.
Sick.
I think that some of us going over there, I didn't necessarily teach stuff, but I think I brought, like, when I went to go hang out and stuff, I'd bring a lot of like information,
Sure.
like stuff
Yeah.
that that expose them to it.
Yeah. That's what I figured was like, mostly it was a valuable just like discourse for you guys to bounce your ideas off each other. They're complementary crews that you guys had going at the same time too.
Would you guys do
Yeah.
collabs and stuff when you went over there? Would you do a lot of the collabs, both even with the glass artists that went and also the Japanese glass artists?
Yeah.
Not at that time. That wasn't really a thing that was happening over there. That didn't happen till later on, kind of.
Sure.
That was like after. Yeah, that wasn't really. That was after they had the whole earthquake and all that stuff. That that
Everyone started
collaboration.
kind of working together. No, that makes
Yeah.
sense. Now, I know some of your influence going out of Japan a little bit comes from Egypt and some of the sculptures there. Can you tell us a little bit about, your affinity for, did you travel to Egypt or where did that, where did that come from?
Yeah, just in general, there's a lot of I grew up interested in conspiracy theories and
What's your favorite one?
oh, I
Oh
mean,
man, there's so many good ones.
I
What are you tailing right now?
no, I mean I don't know. Just the one main one I guess is that there was other civilizations other than ours that were advanced in some technological way that we might not understand.
Like the
That
Roswell,
what's that?
like the 1948 Roswell, where we got the tech from the aliens and all the plane
No,
crashes, that kind of stuff.
no alien stuff. More just like human beings were, I think,
I
I
believe
think that
it.
the pyramids and there's this other spot, Göbekli Tepe, that are, you know, uh, thousands and thousands of years old, older than what the, mainstream people say they are, and that
Yeah,
just lost a lot of that information, and it's hard to pass down that stuff through,
it's like
through the
trade
years.
skills. It's like any trade skills. Yeah, I totally
And dude,
believe
those
that
fucking
in the
pyramids
engineering.
are huge.
Yeah, the best explanation that I had heard was that, or that I would believe in, was like there was so much irrigation in that land that they like diverted the rivers to come closer to where the pyramids are now today. That looks like desolate and barren, and they had floats that they built. Like basically, they would like tie logs or floats to the massive rocks that you see now, so that they were semi buoyant and they'd be able to push them down into a canal that rode up the side of the
You know,
pyramid. I like
there's a
that
lot.
one.
Gets deep.
Yeah,
I
it
think
goes-
that I don't
That
know.
gets deep.
It makes sense.
So have you gone to
To
the
me.
pyramids, Snick?
I have. Yeah.
How many times?
So what's your theory on it?
Uh, I've been there twice. Yeah, I think that they were built a long time ago, and they were able to move. Uh, they were able to move things in ways that we don't understand or understand vibration or
Yeah, they move.
frequency.
Those
Yeah.
big ass things, man.
Uh,
So do
yeah,
you?
no. Sorry, go ahead.
I was
No,
gonna say, do you
please.
draw a lot of your inspiration from those pyramids and your time out in Egypt and seeing the hieroglyphics and stuff? I mean, you can kind of see even that through the hand and the eye.
That's what I was thinking.
I would think
earlier,
back to that
honestly.
kinda-
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just
resonated
more
with
like
me.
more like the like mystery schools, kind of that kind of information that it's not necessarily like Egyptian in a way, but just the old societies that had uh, again access to different types of energy or power or things that we don't quite understand now that people were attuned to at certain points, I guess. And
Sure.
so yeah, I think, and that's kind of like in psychedelic influence and all that. You tap into these different realms or different places that you feel like there's other energy forms or things around you that we can't quite comprehend, but they're powerful and have some kind of presence.
Do you believe in
Yeah.
ghosts?
Ghosts.
Yeah.
I
went
don't
ghost
know.
hunting, but
Maybe. I like Casper the Ghost. No,
No,
but
not Casper. Like energies. Like the same energies you're talking about.
Yeah.
yeah, I think that there's
There's something.
unexplainable phenomenon that could be like associated to different souls and life and stuff like that.
How about UFOs?
Or Bigfoot. Why don't you ask about
No,
Bigfoot?
we're all UFOs.
UFOs, yeah, I don't know. That's probably more the government.
Yeah, I appreciated everyone's like feedback over the past month. They tried to like drip that stuff in, and everyone's like, "Yeah, who gives a shit?" We're like aliens, whatever. We're past that.
There's too much. It's like if it happens, cool. Like I can.
Yeah,
Yeah, I was younger and I got wrapped up before all the internet shit and like I was deep into conspiracy theories and went down the rabbit hole, was all into New World Order and all this shit before 9/11 and knew of Alex Jones like way before
Pre-Alex
like,
Jones.
podcast
yeah,
number
before
one with
Call
us.
him
before,
AJ.
Yeah,
before he was just a crazy dude on public access TV down in Austin shouting out like weird crazy shit and there was no like God or anything or money stuff involved and there was actually like from my perspective good information before he got all nuts
yeah.
but
Just preaching to the people.
It's
yeah
the
no that's
perfect
what
place to launch it too. When were you in Austin?
Yeah, that actually kind of brought me to the next point. I know you did spend some time in Texas
There you go.
with Kinda down there. So yeah,
Yeah,
tell us about
I didn't
Austin.
realize that. That's it.
Yeah.
yeah I moved down there 2012 and I started a studio with Salt.
Nice.
And
Were you in the Grav Labs
that was
one? Were you in the Grav Labs
Yeah.
one that turned? That is a crazy story in
That is
itself.
a crazy
Give us
story,
that
yeah.
story, because I know that you guys thought that you had this whole studio that was everything was going to be perfect, and then one day they kind of came in and told you like, "Yo,
Yeah, I didn't realize you were in there at that time.
what are you
Wow.
doing?"
Yeah, I actually had to. I left before that.
Even went down?
Yeah, we had a studio there that we were splitting with Grav. That was a really big shop. At one point, I think we had maybe like 12 people working there with us.
You guys had a power squad down there. When I hear some of the names, I'm like,
Yeah, it's
"Yo,
like the Avengers.
Ramen, Salt, you, Kinda,
Carlson.
Micah Evans.
Hmm.
I don't.
Chris Carlson.
Chris Carlson.
Carlson.
Yeah, that was a
Yeah, that was,
was a-
definitely.
power crew down there.
Yeah.
So why'd you leave?
I left because I liked Austin, but coming from Philly, it was a little too suburban, I guess, in my like where I lived and how I worked and the point in my life where I was, and I wanted to be closer to my family and also kind of downsize what I was doing. It was just
Sure.
all really big, and I have a house in Philly that I have my studio in, and so my house is 2 blocks away from what was at the time Piper's Row and Crushmore and all those. So
Nice.
it was
So
2 blocks from
Philly's
my
always
house.
home for you. It seems like you always make your way back to Philly.
Yeah, it's the easiest. Like I have my house here, so it's easy for me to plug in and work and do stuff and make it work. But yeah, I was in when I was in Austin. I ended up leaving. We were trying to the homie from Grav, Dave, was trying. We were trying to buy our building, and what happened was basically like, from my understanding. Is that
It's crazy.
he was shopping it around to like find investors, and these dudes were like, "Oh yeah, we're down, let's do it," and then fucking just cut him out, and they ended up buying like our whole complex, like where we were.
And then just booted everyone.
Yeah, everybody had to leave,
Damn.
and yeah, that spot now is like, it's fucking just
Empty,
crazy.
vacant. Yeah.
No,
Now
it's
they're
like,
cranking.
oh yeah,
Their
because it's
full
awesome.
production
Oh,
facility.
so now it's not. So they moved in full tilt then. So they kicked y'all out.
No,
and now
Grav had to leave too.
Oh shit! So they got out of there too.
Oh,
Damn.
nice.
So these
Yeah,
guys
but-
just came in and kicked everyone out of there.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's kind of what happened down in Richmond recently too. There's just like huge factory space. They like moved everyone out, converted it all into like condo, apartment type of deals, some stuff. But yeah, thankfully the owner of that building had bought another building further out. They relocated all those people in Richmond. There's only a
Oh,
couple
nice.
glass artists in there though.
So, Snic, you
Yeah.
obviously have a very good relationship with psychedelics and mushrooms. I see it all over your pieces. How often are you eating mushrooms? You know, is this like a daily thing for you, and you eat them before you do work, or?
Oh, the sun's hitting that
in the
gold
last,
ruby, nice.
I was microdosing for a long time the past few years. I think this year I haven't microdosed as much, but
Sure.
I go in and out of it. It's um, what I really do enjoy when it's nice out. Like I like to microdose a little bit and just go ride my bike.
Nice, nice. Mountain bike through the woods or more city riding through Philly?
Uh, City riding, like there's
I don't know
this
which one's more dangerous, honestly.
On mushroom. Microdose, you're all right.
out of my house and to the spot. You go to the art museum, and then there's a path along the river. It's
Oh,
all
nice.
bike lanes, so it's really easy to just go and zip around. And it takes like an hour, and
Yeah, I
Yeah.
used to run that 8 mile stretch. It was the worst.
Do you ever take those times and just, go
I
reset?
haven't I haven't in a long time. That's I feel like a lot of I haven't done that in a long time because I feel like a lot of the things I've gained from like those really hard,
Experiences.
those heavy doses.
Too
Um,
much sun over here.
yeah, more just on the mellow, like making things shiny and happy and
Feel that.
like
No
I said,
ego death or anything.
Do you?
I started eating psychedelics when I was 13, so I definitely have just, and that was when you would eat an eighth. It's like there wasn't microdosing,
Send it.
wasn't
Right.
like,
Yeah, you just sent it every
Like-
time. Yeah, incredible. Incredible. Eighth after eighth after eighth. Yeah, it's eighth or nothing.
Yeah,
so
or
have
like
you done an eighth and eight and made any pieces or any?
No,
You've definitely microdosed, but
even on my like, I mean, I could, if it's like 0.2, I can do some things.
you can
after
still
that.
make the mushrooms.
Yeah, after
Past that,
You hit
you're
the
just
point three, and it ain't
getting
happening,
on too
baby.
wobbly.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah,
That's what's up.
so
Are you mainly just a mushroom guy? You like acid too, or was it mostly mushrooms for you?
I like LSD. Mushrooms are cool. Yeah, I guess more mushrooms are more readily, what they are.
Right.
I don't know what research chemical I might be getting from somebody.
Sure.
So that's kind of
Did
Yeah,
you do
less predictable. For
Did
sure.
you any time on your career going to shows, doing the lots, slinging pipes on the lots at all, or was most of your glass going directly to galleries and
no, I mean,
collectors, etc.?
the first bunch of years was like why I ended up doing it was the fish tour and tours because I could go work a bunch, make a bunch of glass, go hang out on lot and party and sell glass and travel and when I was doing that, I was like that was right after high school and all that, and I was basically could take care of myself, and so that was the beginning of really how it started. Like,
Would you
in that
sign those pipes? Were you Snic back then, or were you just?
I was just I didn't really have a name for a while. It wasn't until like I moved to Vermont really. Like the first bunch of years I didn't really have a name. I wasn't really like I'm going by this person.
Sure.
More like, I ended up having groups of people that knew me that randomly all called me Snic. That like people that didn't know each other, they would end
Sure.
up calling me
This is
Snic.
probably me. This is probably my glass moniker. That's pretty cool.
So yeah, and Slinger gave me the Barnes. So
Where'd that come from? Was there a funny story behind it, or he's just feeling it one day?
well, Barnes, there was Nicky Barnes was like in the 70s, like a huge cocaine dealer in
Perfect.
New York, and like
Perfect.
point was like on
Snicky
like
Barnes, baby.
that's like if you listen to like some like Nas and like some of the other like rappers, like they'll drop Nicky Barnes in
In their
in their-
lines. Yeah, perfect.
That's it.
so yeah, so he was just like, put the Barnes on, and I was like, cool. Like,
That's
Sneaky
me.
Barnes, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's dope.
So
Yeah.
I know you've done a lot of traveling. You've obviously done some collaborations like here with Cole. What's been your favorite collabs and what's been your favorite, kind of times working with different artists over the years?
I mean, I probably would just have. I mean, probably would have to say the banjo collab, the Freya collab, was probably the
What year are we talking?
2015, I think.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah,
Sick.
15, something like that. Yeah,
And what
and
what brought you guys together for that piece?
I don't know. We had worked once before, and we were just talking about. We'd always, I'd see him from time to time in places, and we were just
Sure.
really connected and enjoyed hanging out.
I
And
think it's time.
yeah, and so ended up kind of going out there and working on something, and that was really the Freya piece is the first Devi piece, really technically. So
Whoa.
that was like he was like, oh, I want to do this piece where they're they're sitting crisscrossed and you know in a praying mandala
You're
thing.
like, I'm with it. Let's do
I'm
it.
like, cool, dude, let's do it. And then it was like ended up being like 2 weeks later. I'm out still in Humboldt, and I'm like, I gotta go home and
I
do
kind
stuff.
of leave.
Yeah,
Was
yeah.
the piece
'Cause it-
done when you left?
But seeing that finish must have been
No,
awesome.
it wasn't. We finished the piece. He had to leave to go to the Oregon Fair.
Okay.
Nice.
So I went back down to Texas, and then like I flew out and worked out in Eugene, and it was like in Cowboy's shop,
Incredible.
and finished the piece out there.
Nice.
So yeah, I mean that one's legendary. I know back in I think it was 2009 you won Pipe Classic. Was that right? What was that piece that you did for the win of Pipe Classic?
That's dope.
I made these big. I made a big sculptful, like kind of body sculpture that was holding a pipe, and I made this big ass bong that I like. Yeah, I think I know. Yeah, that I spray painted some of it, and it was just like big, and rowdy, and weird and crazy. And
Did you know you were gonna spray paint it before? Like, or was that just you know what? Let's hit it.
no, I did because it was just more my thought of the competition, and especially now, I was going to make something cool. I wasn't like going to make like the pipe had to work, which it did technically. Would you
Yeah.
want to use it all the time? Probably not, but it was just more about the creating
work
something
that
cool
one
and in the
time.
moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just for like a wow effect and just to be that much different than what other people were doing,
Yeah.
So
Well, that's
hopefully
exciting.
either people like it or they don't. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we're getting kind of close to the end here, Snic. We really do appreciate your time. You have
Sure.
any final words for us or the people listening?
Yeah, just try to be cool and nice to each other.
I love
You
that.
know,
It's all about
just-
being good energy, spreading good energy, good positive
Yeah,
vibes.
as cheesy and as corny as it is, it's just everybody just try to relax and just mellow out a little bit, smoke some weed, have a drink. I don't know. Play a
Whatever you
video
gotta
game.
do. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
just relax. It's not, it's hard,
Yeah,
but
that's
it's
actually
all
perfect.
good. It's gonna be all right.
Everything
take
is
a
gonna
dab
be
right now.
all right.
Oh,
I got
yeah.
this really cool marble stand. I know you've been doing a lot of these recently. Again, man,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Nick, for coming on. We really appreciate it. You told us a lot of fun and interesting stories today. We're really excited and stoked to let the audience hear this one.
Yeah, definitely,
Yeah, I
man.
appreciate it. Thank you guys. Yeah, thank you so much. Stoked for what you guys are doing.
Thank you, man. Well, we really appreciate you. Thank you, and have
Oh,
an
yeah.
awesome weekend, brother.
Yeah, right back at you for sure.
Cool. Peace. Thank you.